Unmute us. Good morning, everybody. This is Cassie Johnson with the Lake Mills Chamber, and I am here with our newest chamber member, Dave Peace of Dave Peace Comedy.
I made it, Mom.
And you may recognize him. He's been our MC for our Little Mr. and Miss July Jubilee contest for like 3 years?
4
years now?
Yeah, it was the, I can't say the word, sesquicentennial?
Yes, sesquicentennial, 2019.
Yeah. 2019, so since then, yeah.
Yep, and so, but if you didn't know, Day is a comedian. He lives in Lake Mills and he travels across the state, across the country to do shows.
Yeah, all over the country.
Yep, so we're blessed to have you in town with us and at our services, or have your services for our events. So
I want to say happy to be here, but yeah. My wife is from Lake Mills, so that's why I'm here, and it's been. Yeah.
You grew up in Michigan, right?
Grew up in Detroit, Michigan,
yep.
And I left Detroit. I don't know. I want to look at you, but I want to.
Yeah, whatever you can talk to the people, talk to me, whatever.
I want to give you some eye contact, but I also want to get the people some eye contact. No, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, but I left Detroit to go to Minnesota for college, and then I dropped out after 30 days, and then I got a job, met a lady. That didn't work out.
Oh no.
And my job promoted me to the first place that had open availability, which was Mason City, Iowa. I moved there. I met Monica Peterson at the time, and we went to Arizona because I didn't want to be in Iowa. And then she made me move back. So
hey, you can't avoid fate, maybe.
Well, no, you do crazy things for love.
There you go. Maybe that's a better one.
So I've been in Lake Mills for almost 6 years now.
And you guys got married at the Victorian house, right?
Got married at the Victorian house,
that's cool.
which was amazing. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like my in-laws, we all like was clipping. We were mowing the lawn and doing the flowers, and we made the place look so beautiful. For when the day came, it was just great.
Yeah. That is a fun place to have. My sister had they got ready for her wedding there, and so we got to hang out there in the historic house and the gardens. It's really beautiful. Anyway, so that's your journey to Iowa, to Lake Mills.
Yes, that's why.
So tell us a little bit about your journey into comedy. How did you know that was like the job for you?
Okay, so I was thinking about that. I didn't know, and sometimes I still don't. It's through success and failure. I think that's life, right? Like you go through life and you try to figure out what works and what doesn't. And I think comedy for me is very similar to marriage, right? Like, you know, you have your good days, you have your bad days, but at the end of the day, there's nobody you rather, like my wife, there's nobody I'd rather be with. And that's comedy. Like I've had some great shows, some terrible shows, but there's nothing I'd rather be doing. And for me, that's how I know, okay, this is the right path. Yeah,
that's a really good analogy. And even though your wife is the butt of a lot of your jokes.
Yeah, she deservedly so. Okay? I mean, I have my flaws. There's no doubt about it. But you know, if I can't talk about these things, I talk about my kids. Yeah. If I can't talk about these things, then what am I doing?
Yeah. So I watched a couple of your YouTube videos while I was prepping for this, and I saw that you had a roast, and your mom roasted you.
Oh,
Did Monica roast you too then, or no?
Monica
just your mom?
Would not. She is. So we are. I don't want to say polar opposites, but. We're just very different in that sense. She is, you know, an introvert. She is soft-spoken, quiet. She doesn't get up in front of people. Yeah. My mom is the opposite. Like she wants the spotlight. Like my mom will go to grocery stores and she'll talk loud just so other people can like hear us. Yeah. And like engage them in conversation. No, my mom had never been on stage, and she absolutely did fantastic. Yeah. She was. It was explicit, okay?
Yeah, not safe for work. If you're going to watch them on your break, in your car maybe, volume down.
She cut deep, okay? She found some things. She did an amazing job, but that's kind of where my comedy comes from. Family and just growing up in Detroit and growing up around people that laughed at just about everything, even when it was hard to laugh. Yep.
I could see how that impacts how you, how your journey has progressed. So I think we skipped over a little bit about your profession in that, like where do you perform most often, and like what's some of the coolest places you've been?
Oh, okay. So it just hit me this year that my top 5 comedy shows in my life, and I've been doing comedy for over 11 years, are all in Iowa. And that makes me sad, but it also makes me like appreciate being here.
Yeah.
Because I think we are where we're supposed to be in life. So, my most frequent place. So if you want to see me for free, I have this amazing run at a brewery in Mason City called Mason City Brewing. Been doing comedy there for 5 years. And we've had some spectacular shows. The roast that my mom did was there. I do an annual Toys for Tots show where we raise money for Toys for Tots in North Iowa. Amazing shows there. And that's the second Friday of every month.
Okay.
Some of my favorite places, when I did my first comedy album, we did it at the Mason City Community Theater, sold it out. It was a spectacular show.
Yeah.
I performed at the Surf Ballroom and the Surf District when that was still here. But those were really important. Those are really important shows for me. There's comedy clubs all over the country that I performed at. Arizona is always special to me, so when I get the chance to go back to Arizona and perform, those always mean something.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to a comedy festival that I just got accepted to in Austin, Texas this year. So I had some really fun things lined up.
Yeah.
Specifically, kind of, if I can just plug myself real quick.
Yeah.
Coming up locally, I will be at Music Man Square July 30th, which I've never played that room, and I'm very interested in how that's going to go. I have some things planned. And then the biggest show that I've done or produced will be September 3rd at the Diamond Joe Casino, which is amazing because I have people, my mother-in-law went to the casino, took a picture of the casino, the slot machine, because they run ads on that.
Oh, yeah.
There's my picture there, my picture's on the marquee, and I think they're really starting to believe, like, okay, he's really going somewhere with this comedy. He's not just, sleeping on our couch for nothing. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool. Yeah, and we can plug those again at the end. If there's anybody out there who's watching and wants to ask Dea a question or leave a comment, please do. We'll read them. They'll pop up on our screen here. So obviously, since you've been back to Iowa now, or to move to Iowa, we've been through a pandemic. So how did that, coming to Iowa and then also dealing with that, how did that affect your career path, and how did you adapt to still grow?
Well, let's be honest. Hundreds of thousands of people die. Okay, so
Oops, that's over
I
your
didn't
face. Take that off.
It wasn't the worst. Like, my story is not any particularly different than many others. The pandemic happened and everything just shut down. When you're a live entertainer and you don't have a crowd or a venue, it was challenging. I was blessed to record my first comedy album right before everything shut down, and so for a good 6 months I lived off of that.
Yeah, I think it was March 2020, was it not?
Well, yeah, March. I recorded it. God is amazing. Like, little do I know, things could have happened where I could have got shut down and not record that album. So I recorded it, put it out, and I just lived with my family. My son didn't go to school that year, so he was there all the time, and me and my wife were like, what do we want to do? And so we had another baby. It's boring, okay? So we were just in the house. And they're called pandemic babies.
Oh yeah, I have one.
Pandemic. What do you want to do? Watch Netflix? Make a baby. Okay, now the pandemic was obviously rough for a lot of people, but I want to stay positive in the sense that I invested more in my podcast. I developed new marketing skills. And then there were some really great quality family time. So again, it wasn't the worst for me. Like, I know a lot of other people went through it, and I'm just blessed to be back working. And I will say the biggest lesson of the last 2 years, if anybody didn't get this, is it can easily be taken away. So, definitely appreciate the time that you have. But literally 1 week I'm working, my calendar is full. The next week, nothing.
Right. It was crazy. I mean, everybody had to adapt to that, and it just, everything flipped upside down, and it was a new path you had to take. And so, but okay, let's talk about your new album then. So I don't know if you talked to me specifically about this, or if you posted it somewhere that you wanted kind of like a do-over on your first album, or is this just like a kind of like to show how far you've come now in 2 years since your last one?
It's probably a great mixture of both, to be honest with you. And yeah, I did talk to you about it, but it's just been on my mind, right? Because, to be honest, I didn't know what I was doing. I had never put out an album before. So when 2020 happened and the world shut down, I didn't have any place to go, any like real direction. I don't have a record company behind me. I don't have a manager or agent. I had to learn everything through failure.
Yeah.
And though my first album was good, there was a lot of failure in it because I did a one take. A lot of comedy specials that you see, they do multiple takes. They usually do
like a 3-night thing.
They'll do a 3-night thing. They'll do multiple shows that night. That way you can take the best of both, you know, the crowd reaction, the bits. And I messed up a lot. I missed jokes. I forgot lines. And I just had to put it out there. And I just was feeling like, okay, the world shut down. If I get another opportunity, here's some things that I would do differently. And that's kind of what the second album is. And I think that's also why it's having so much success. A lot of people that listen to the first and now listen to the second album can identify that. And this is what I've been saying a lot, like I was a lot more free for the second album. It's a mature audience, okay? The content that we talk about, the direction that the second album goes in, it's crazy. But it's so much fun. It's very funny. But the first album was very much stick to my paper, do my jokes that I've been doing for the last several years. The second album was, hey, pandemic is almost over. Let me get out there and entertain, do some things differently. I did 2 shows, the second album, and I did material and I did crowd work. And I just had the best time on stage. And that's also one of my top shows in Iowa. So.
Yeah, and I actually have a clip. I have one of your trailers. It's censored, so don't worry about that. But if you go on YouTube and watch it, you can watch the real thing, unedited.
Unedited, yes.
2022. Here's that. We can't hear it, but it's on there.
I didn't know it was him. I didn't know it was him. Okay. So my name's Rachel. I'm trans. I came out 3 years ago.
Keep clapping. Let's just. My first winter in Minnesota. It was white as the eyes can see, and there was some snow there. You know what I'm saying? We have an older kid. I talked about on the last album, and he heard it, and he was sad about it. I told him it was a joke about him not being good at sports, and I was like, well, you know what I'm saying? Prove me wrong. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Keep it going for JP!
I mean,
I cut it off.
That's
sorry.
all right.
Anyway, so we were just chatting while that played, and Day was saying that he edits most of his material that goes online, and I mean, you're a one-man show, so you do all of your marketing, all of your social, all of your everything.
Yeah, so I was sitting down with one of the newspapers, and they were asking me about the process, and essentially the first album, I didn't know what I was doing, and I cannot stress that enough. And the second album, I'm not saying I mastered it, but I did it a little bit better. So the first album took me about a month to take the raw footage, the audio, enhance it, you know, this joke starts here, this joke, I did all that. The second album took me about 2 weeks. I kind of like kissed the babies, they went to sleep, and I would stay up for, you know, 5, sometimes 6 hours in the middle of the night just working on this album to get it prepared. And, you know, trailers and all promos is just stuff that I've been doing that I've learned how to do better the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's very impressive. And we didn't say the results of releasing your album. It went to #1 on iTunes.
That's
like
amazing.
Pretty much right away, right?
Well, yes and no. So, yes, it did. But that's sort of how iTunes work, which I had to learn because I didn't do this for the first album. So this is 1 o'clock in the morning. So at like 11 o'clock our time, I had people starting to call me like, hey, your album's out. I'm listening to it right now. And I was like, I'm so proud. so, you know, I kept going back. So here's how iTunes work, the charts. You don't get an email. You don't get like notifications. You just have to constantly check it. And I checked it at midnight. Not only was it not #1, it was nowhere to be found. And I'm getting ready to go to sleep. Almost 1 o'clock in the morning, I check it again, and it's #1.
Oh my gosh!
And it had surpassed, you know, a lot of great established comedians.
Yeah.
And it stayed there for most of the day, and that was amazing. Then it dropped to number 2, and then it eventually falls off.
Okay.
But that was incredible.
Yeah.
On Amazon, they do the same thing where they have a chart list and comedy. It had reached number 1 a couple of times. But what's impressive on Amazon is there's 2 categories. There's new release, which is, okay, it's a new comedy album, and also bestseller. So it reached number 1 for both of those.
Wow.
Which means I can go around saying I have a best-selling number 1 comedy album.
There you go.
And that's a big deal. And to also toot my own horn, there's only 2 comedians in the state of Iowa that's ever happened with. I know one of the other guys. His name is Dante Powell. He's a good friend of mine. We actually started a nonprofit organization called Black Iowa Streams, which is a collection of black comedians and black entertainers in the state of Iowa just working together and networking.
Yep.
His album went number 1 in 2020, and now I'm blessed to say my album has also done the same now in 2022.
Yep. So with that success, have you seen like more shows getting booked, or is it sort of like a way for you to sell to a place to go perform?
Oh, yeah. It's a little bit of both. First of all, the price goes up. Okay, let's be honest. So,
oh, my July Julie budget.
Well, that's kind of funny because before the album came out, in my mind, and this is just having faith. I say this a lot, but I truly believe this. My mentality, my mind frame these last couple of months has been trust the process, trust God, and trust in your ability, like believe in what you're doing. So before the album came out, I'm like, all right, I think there's gonna be some success with this. I didn't think number 1, but I'm like, let me book a bunch of stuff. Undercharge, underpay. I was privileged to perform for the teachers, which was amazing at Lake Mills. It was their last week of school, so I performed for them, the faculty and administrators. It was amazing. They wanted to give me more money, and I was like, no, let me do a little bit less because I really want to do this show. Plus, I understand value, and I don't want to cheat the system. So here's what I'll charge. Just pay me that. Now with the album coming out, in the future, these are going to be the new prices. So absolutely, it's a great way to pitch myself and promote myself. But ultimately, there's been people more interested in wanting me to come perform. Yeah,
and while we're talking about that, just so people know, you do clean shows. So like you've done an after prom, correct? And then you do your normal materials, and you also have MC services. So I mean, if there's anybody out there who needs something like that, call Day.
She's so great. Okay, she deserves a lot of flowers for what you do.
And then I've got, so I'll pull up Day's website. What he uses here it's called Linktree. So it's a place where he links all of his material, his important things he wants you to see. Like this, I have your show coming up.
Look at you.
Let's get us on the screen too. So
that's so amazing.
But you have been, I guess, how did you get involved with RAGBRAI, and why were you selected to release? In case you didn't know, Day got to release who the performers were for RAGBRAI coming through Mason City. And so tell us a little bit about that and what you've got going on there.
So I'm just. So I say this a lot as well. 2022 is shaping out to be the year that 2020 was supposed to be. So a lot of great things are happening. A lot of great blessings are coming my way. RAGBRAI, I didn't know how huge this was. This is a major thing. And I thought it was just some crazy white event that goes on in North Iowa. And when I heard the name RAGBRAI, I thought it was rugby. And I'm like, oh, what's happening? But it's this incredible event. It's almost like if you've ever lived in a state that has the Super Bowl that comes to your town, it's a huge spectacle. And as of right now, they have over 19,000 registered riders. And that's just registered, so there's probably a good 5,000 to 10,000 that'll just be tagging along, and then an audience of probably close to 10 just Mason City people.
And people who come to just like witness it,
So we're looking at 30,000 people in downtown Mason City on July 27th because Mason City is doing the entertainment. How I got involved was just building relationships over the years. I started doing radio. I was a radio personality with Harry O.
Okay.
And we would bring in just other people to have kind of chit chats with a comedian. And then that grew to a relationship that I developed with a young lady named Emily Ginneyberg, who's with Main Street, Mason City.
Okay, yeah.
And a couple of years back to back, she had me be Black Santa, which is hilarious. And I would dress up as Santa, and we would go around, and we had never worked on like, okay, I'd love to do something bigger, because that's what I wanted to do this year. I wanted to do different events, like a after prom, like performer for teachers. I got a kids party that I'm doing
I love it.
in 2 weeks. And she was like, I think this may be a good fit for you. We just need an MC that can entertain, that can be energetic, and we have these big names coming. Like they rolled it all out. I was like, absolutely. They sat down and talked with me about it, and it just sounded really great. What I like about it is Mason City is trying to be what they talk about. They want to be more inclusive. They want to be more diverse, and I think that starts with action by actually getting, more people of color involved, more women involved. The women that are actively working on RAGBRAI, incredible. And again, no offense to the guys out there, but sometimes we need to move over and let these women do great things. So it's gonna be a fun night, and it's a free concert. So.
Yeah, and speaking of inclusion and diversity, you use your platform to do stuff beyond comedy. You're using it for activism and policy change, and so you're part of a group in Mason City, right? What's the name of that group?
Oh yeah. So you do your research. She is on it. Well,
I saw a video of you getting attacked by kids with water balloons, and so I had to know more.
So the water balloon really quickly was something that I started a couple years ago in Lake Mills with my kids. We do a Father's Day water balloon fight, and I realized how fun it is to hit your children with water. It's amazing. So we started having more kids so we can have more people to hit. So as the children grew, the water balloon fight grew, and this year, Father's Day fell on the same day as Juneteenth, which is the emancipation of Black people no longer being slaves. So we just combined it, and we did this huge water balloon fight with all these kids. They all attacked me. The parents and the adults left me out to dry.
Well, I don't know who was recording, but they were like, "Get day, get day, get day."
It was so fun. I think the kids in the just the association with that event had a great time.
Yeah.
So in 2020, the murder of George Floyd really woke up a lot of people. It's a tragedy, but it's also hopefully some things that we learn as a country and just as individuals. I remember just a lot of unfollowing and unfriending during this year.
Yep.
That was really when I first started to talk about more things on stage.
Yeah.
Because when you live in North Iowa, you have to be careful about what you say and who you offend. And I understand business, but I also understand what's more important than that, which is your voice. So I took my son to his first rally. My son watched that very, very important and tragic video of George Floyd. And I just started talking about this stuff more, incorporating jokes also, but at the same time, feeling like I had something more important to say.
Yeah.
Also in 2020, they started this Mason City Coalition for Injustice and Equality, and we just basically rebranded it because 2020 happened, and then 2021 happened, and we didn't know if the pandemic was over or not.
Yeah.
And they tried to do it, and nothing came of it. So I wanted to kind of resurge and re-energize this group. So now we call it Mason City Voices for Inclusion, which is basically just a small number of people that says, hey, we care about all these different issues, and we want people to know that there are other people here that feel the same.
Yeah.
So they did a reproductive march, which I took my 2-year-old daughter to. She's so adorable, and she obviously won't remember it, but I just think as parents, or just as humans, or just grown-ups, we have a responsibility to just do better for the next generation.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of what we do and talk about.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, my daughter's about the same age as yours. As you said, they're pandemic babies. We've talked about this before too, and it's Yeah, they're just something. So I wouldn't want to, you know, have to deal with them maybe when they're older and ready to start doing those things on their own, you know. And you know, sometimes you get calls from like KMIT or to touch on some national story that's going on.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've got a clip of the one that you were here. I can play that.
Finding out how much the next generation knows about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. A study from Brainly found that 63% of U.S. students incorrectly identified the late civil rights leader's accomplishments or were just not aware of his contributions, including his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. North Iowa comedian Dave Peace grew up in Detroit, where the commemorative day is celebrated and revered. He says he's sad and disappointed in the results of the study.
He literally gave his life to this particular cause of fighting for racial injustice. So that was one of the most powerful things that I learned early on, like, you know, willing to sacrifice it all for this thing that's not right in our world to change.
More than 1,700 students were surveyed.
All right.
We're back.
I didn't cut that one off. So, yeah, I mean, it's cool that your name's starting to get out there too, in relation to, you know, more of the social or civic improvement and those kinds of things, along with your comedic.
Yeah, part of the big initiative of this year is do more. So I did feel like for a couple of years I was kind of put in a box, and maybe it was by my own doing, but I wanted to make sure I explained that I have a lot more to say and I can do more. So I got ordained as a minister, and I've done 2 weddings now.
Wow.
I've I do the clean shows, I do the kids shows. I love working with kids. I love working with anybody that wants to laugh.
Yeah.
So as it relates to some of these other issues, I just want to make sure that I walk both lines, because the most important thing about, you know, being a dad is making sure I explain to my kids that you don't have to just be labeled as one thing. You can do whatever you want to do, but also that you sort of have a responsibility. For a long time, I felt like I can only do one thing. Like I can only be a comedian, I can only be a dad, I can only be a black person, and now I'm just trying to mix them all together, say no, I can do all of them at the same time, and be just as impactful. Yeah,
and I'm sure that brings another aspect of like loving your job, you know, like it kind of just helps you to live what you work and work to live, you know, it just kind of encompasses it all together. So we talked about what the shows you have coming up. Do you have anything like this weekend with the long weekend? Any shows? Nothing?
No, this is my last free weekend before the next 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Me and the kids have been, and the wife, we've been doing a lot of activities. They actually went on the road with me to Nebraska, and I had like shows, and so I would do the shows, and we would go to the zoo. It's very draining. So, no, we're going to do a family thing one last weekend, and then Dad's going to be working. He's got a very busy summer.
So your next gig is July Jubilee then?
It is. It is.
You can catch Dave next at the community night next Friday, 6:30. He's emceeing our Little Mr. and Miss contest. So, and then you're heading to a show like right after that, right? So then he's going to go on to Mason City, I think you said.
I am.
Yeah.
So again, I'm blessed to be working again as much as I am, but I'm also, and I think it's important to say, if you see my schedule, just know that I really want to do these shows, that I'm very much excited for these shows, and I am at a point now where I'm sort of picking and choosing, like I don't really want to do this, so I'm not going to do it.
Right.
With that being said, if you see my schedule, just know that I am just as invested in every one of them, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, very cool. So do you have any shout outs or like thank yous to anybody while we're here before we close off?
Yeah, I got 6 people. Okay. Not in any particular order, but Jesus, I appreciate you. Thank you for being great. No, yourself, I think you're amazing, and like I said, I don't know if you get the recognition that you deserve, but you are seriously one of my favorite people that I've met out here, and I just don't want you to ever feel like you are taken for granted, or you don't get the acknowledgement. So
I appreciate that.
I think you reached out to me all those years ago to have me included in July Jubilee, and I've been coming to July Jubilee for over a decade, right?
Really?
Before then, because I met my wife. I met Monica.
True.
At the end of 2007. And then my first July Jubilee was probably 08 or 09. So, I've been coming back and forth. I had never really been, a part of it. I'd never been asked or approached about anything. So that meant a lot to me. So kudos to you. Steve Peterson. I don't know if you'll catch this, but I appreciate a lot of things that you do. And you're also very active and vocal, and that's inspiring to me. My wife, I think you're amazing, and I love you, and I'm glad we're done having kids.
I really love the story. I don't know if you just told me, I listened on your podcast or something, but when you were pregnant with your daughter, you did the blood test to find out what gender it was, and it said boy. Yeah. And then when you had the official one done, it was girl, and then I just remember that. Yeah. Your wife being so happy.
We're both happy. We were done after 3 regardless, but to go out on top, to go out and have the baby girl was a blessing. I love you and I appreciate you. My kids, I'm sure I'll show them a clip of this, and I want to make sure they see it and I give them a shout out. So my kids, who are actually a track on my comedy album, but Drake, Kyrie, Kobe, I love you. They're all named after celebrities because that was a terrible idea. And I want to give a shout out to Bonnie K for sitting down with me and putting me in the Lake Mills graphic again and doing the front page cover. And I appreciate you very much. And just anybody in Lake Mills that has broken the barrier of what inclusion looks like now, what the country looks like, what the state of Iowa looks like, and are more accepting of other people. Yeah. I love you and I appreciate that, and I want more of that. So
perfect. All right, and then we usually sign off with what's your morning drink of choice? Is it coffee? Is it something else?
Oh, what, like liquor?
I mean, to each their own. I was thinking like Monday through Friday, but
okay.
Like some people have a pop in the morning, or some people have coffee.
Oh no, coffee. We live and die off of coffee. My particular is white chocolate mocha. That's my pet name for my wife. Okay, she's white chocolate. I'm caramel macchiato. No, coffee is like if they outlawed coffee, I might become a criminal. Okay, like if you couldn't drink coffee anymore, I would be stealing it. I'd be growing it in my backyard. Like, coffee makes the world go round.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah. I actually haven't started drinking coffee until recently. So before then I was just like Diet Pepsi in the morning.
What?
Yeah. So right now I've got a mocha also, or I like to get their chai tea. So those are my drinks of choice.
Yeah, no, shout out to
Swallow Coffee House,
this place, for letting us come in here and do this, but just also being a really impactful business in the community. Yeah, I set this about 5 Alarm when they opened up, and I've done shows there. Like, this place don't deserve it. Like this, it's so fancy. Like the thing that I love most about my comedy in North Iowa is it's big city comedy in a small town. Yeah. And I put in as much work, energy, and effort in those shows as I do the ones that I do here. So you get something here that you would have to travel for. Yeah. Places like this coffee house, the brewery, it's amazing that we have that here. Yeah. So take advantage, people.
Yeah, for sure. And we like coming up here, and Kelly loves us having our chamber chats here. I don't even think she's here today, so we kind of just snuck in on her. But
hey, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly. Maybe she's
and Darcy.
So
shout out to Maddie, working hard.
Yeah, she made our coffees. There it is. All right. Well, I think we are going to sign off. So everybody have a great 4th of July weekend. Rest up because July Jubilee is coming, and coming quickly. And yeah, if you want to catch Day, go head over to his website and see where he's having shows, and we'll see you out there. Bye.